Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
Thanks for tuning into Houston Real Estate Radio. We've got you covered when it comes to your real estate news and information you can use. You can find out more about our guests and the issues we bring you at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We also have a Facebook fan page, and you can find us on iTunes. You can listen to the show from iTunes and the iHeartRadio. We're here every Sunday at 1 p.m. You can give us a call, 281-882-8088, or tweet James and I your questions using hashtag HRER. So give us a call, and we'll answer those questions right here on the air. James and I have Dr. Jim Gaines Skyping in today. It's always a great interview, lots of fun. He's a research economist over at the Texas A&M University. They have a real estate research center there. So he has lots of great information on what's going on in the housing market. So always a lot of great information that you bring our guests, our listeners, so that they can make better decisions about buying and selling. So That's welcome great. To the show.
Glad to be back. Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year to you. What predictions do you have for the new year?
It'll be 2013. I don't mean to be too flippant, but right now it's been a little difficult for anybody to make too much of a prediction yet because of all the uncertainty. Still, we just finished getting through of the Congress kicking the can down the road with the Fiscal Cliff that we all heard so much about. And so it looks like all we've gotten is a little trough rather than a cliff. A few things did go into play, some higher tax rate for higher individuals. The Bush-era tax rates are now permanent. They don't have to be revoted every year as they have been for the last several years. And the AMT, the alternative minimum tax, they avoided a real problem there because they finally have now officially indexed it. That was one of those hidden ones. It was going to affect probably more people than anything else in all of these tax effects that were going to come into play.
As inflation continues, right?
Well, you know, the official stats on the inflation right now are pretty good. They're less than 2%, both in actual CPI and the core CPI. The Federal Reserve, as you know, back in December said they're going to peg interest rates for the future to the inflation rate, to accept an inflation rate somewhere between 2 or 2.5% if it gets that high, but also they're pegging it to a 6.5% unemployment rate. Now that was news. What they'd done prior to that for the last couple of years is they'd simply said they were going to do it, keep interest rates low until 2015. Well, now they're going to tie it specifically to economic performance in the job market and in inflation. Now, most of the economists that I've talked to and read about, most of them are figuring that's 2015 anyway. By the time we'll get down to that low of an unemployment rate, it's still currently running just under 8%. I think it's something like 7.7, 7.8, something like that. So it's going to take a while at the rate that the economy is growing, which is also incidentally at a little less than 2%. On an annual basis. That's the projection for the numbers we're expecting to see for the fourth quarter that haven't come out yet, but that's what we're expecting to see. And quite frankly, to carry through into the first quarter of this year.
And that's good news about the interest rate because that gives us several more quarters of low interest for people to buy homes and conduct real estate transactions.
Absolutely. Interest rates are going to stay down in the vicinity of where they are. Now, quite frankly, I think right now, as you know, for the last, 8 or 9 months, we've had interest rates around the 3.5 level. If you go for 15 years and get a high down payment, you can even get under 3 on a permanent loan. And we may see the second half of this year, we might see that interest rate creep up a few basis points. It'll creep up maybe close to 4.
But nothing drastic.
And thereabout, but it's not going to be any kind of drastic change. And as far as the Fed is concerned, they're going to keep that Fed funds rate right about where it is. What's going to make it cause to creep up are some of the rules and regs that are coming out now from FHFA and the Consumer Finance Protection Board with their definition here that they released last week of qualified mortgages and the ability to pay law rules that they're coming out with under the Dodd-Frank, that are causing the cost of doing business for the lenders to go up a little bit, and they're going to pass that cost through to borrowers either in the form of higher fees, even though there is a limit on that, or in the form of higher interest rates, or both. So we'll see a little bit of interest rate creep over the next probably 12 to 18 months, but nothing that's going to be a concern in the housing market. Other than the fact there's always those people who want to get the very lowest rate they can.
Sure.
So if you're a buyer right now, be thinking in the next 6 months you're probably safe, but after that you're going to start seeing some creep up.
What do you think about, you're kind of talking about that national angle and what happened with the fiscal cliff. How do you think that is going? I mean, they still have a lot of voting to do, obviously. What do you think is going to happen? How will it affect the housing market at a national level?
To be honest, there was the possibility that if all of those things happened, that we literally went falling off the cliff, that we would have a national recession. We'd go into negative GDP and so forth. The effect on the housing market would have probably still been modest.
Okay.
Because most of it was going to affect the general economy. The housing market was already on its own because of pent-up demand, because of low interest rates, because of prices already being down, and for a lot of other reasons, the housing market was probably going to do okay. Since we didn't fall completely off the cliff, and it became a non-issue. In fact, quite frankly, what
we put a big Band-Aid on it.
Well, the politicians ultimately did what politicians do, and that is they moved it forward. They didn't let it happen, and that's so it's not going to have that kind of impact. So the housing market, the national housing market, the Texas housing market, the Houston housing markets are all expected to do even better in 2013 than they did in 2012. And quite frankly, 2012 is the best year we've had in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
That's good. We like to hear that it's going to get better and better, don't we, James?
Keep getting better. Good news is always welcome.
They're selling houses, so we want it to get better and better. I talk to a lot of sellers, and they see that housing prices are starting to creep up a little bit, and they're wondering, should they hold out and let them keep creeping up and sell at a later date? And, in my opinion, I don't think the Texas market is going to increase so drastically it's going to make that much of a difference 6 months from now. What do you think?
Well, let me look back a little bit, and then I'll look forward a little bit.
Okay.
Right now, and for the last 6 months, what we've seen is a decreasing inventory of properties being offered for sale. You and I have talked about that before. And one of the biggest reasons for that is what you were just alluding to, and that is people who might be in the market wanting to sell their house to either move up, to move over, to move out, whatever. They've held back because they wanted to get a better price, and they figured, well, I'm going to wait till I see the market prices increasing and do better when I sell my house, and I'm not going to list right now. So right now, for example, in Houston, I believe the month's inventory is less than 4 months.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Listed properties relative to the rate of sales that we're seeing, and that's the reason in some neighborhoods in Houston we're seeing the better properties that come on the market get multiple bids and even winding up being sold for more than their listing price, which is a great market to be in if you're a seller. So I think you are right, and you've hit on a theme that I think is going to be very important for 2013 at the national level, the state level, and in the Houston level, and that is, I believe that the market's expectations now have turned positive. For the last 5 years, we've got nothing but bad news. You were laughing about that a minute ago, but it was true. We've had nothing but bad news, prices going down, a lot of distressed and foreclosure sales, holding prices back. The second half, particularly of 2012, we saw that loosen up. We have seen now price increases come in, and there have been several surveys that people's expectations are that prices are going to go up. So I think this year, to answer now your specific question, in the next 6 months and for the rest of 2013, I think we'll see activity pick up on both sides. People are interested in buying, but I think we'll also start seeing more people interested in selling their houses. They've been sitting on them for a couple of 3 years, and now they're going to get ready to move. It won't be a flood, but it will be a definite improvement.
It's definitely time. I agree with you there. Jim, can you stay with us?
Sure.
Okay. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. Tweet us your questions at Shannon Register or at James Brown TX, or call us at 281-882-8088. Shannon and I will be right back with Jim Gaines.